Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diverse Goddess. It's Hannah, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about why no one believes the scapegoat, especially within a family dynamic, so keep watching. So last week I did a video on the pain of a scapegoat, but what is also painful for a scapegoat is the realization that usually no one believes them. And it's not only painful, but it's disheartening to say the least. So why is it that no one believes the scapegoat in the first place, especially when the scapegoat feels that they are just telling what the truth is, and to them it seems so damn obvious? Well, no one believes them because, for one, if it's within a family situation and it's a parent, the parent is seen in a position of authority. And because of that, in that position of authority, they are seen to be the one that is always right. And so therefore, their words hold more weight and power. Basically, anyone who is in a position of so-called power is seen as more reliable. Like, it could be at work, it could be your boss, or it could be somebody who's in a high position in society. Because of that authority and that position of power, their words seem to hold more truth. So within a family, a parent's words holds more truth. And because the narcissistic parent is always lying on the scapegoated child's character so much, people just tend to believe them blindly. Furthermore, the parent might come out and say that one of the things that makes the child bad is that they accuse them of abusing them. So they will kind of confess in a way, but they will say it in a way where they're talking about it as if it's something they have to deal with, that the child is making them look bad. And that's one of the things that makes the child bad, is that they make up stories about them. The parent might even say, yeah, my child accuses me of abusing them. Yeah, me. Right. Like, making it seem as if it's unbelievable, or that, like, why would they accuse me of doing that? Like, you guys know me, or whoever it is that they're talking to. So they'll say it in a way where it's just something they have to deal with regarding their child. But they do this so they can come off as if they are the innocent one. And so they have a way of hiding the truth behind innocence and doubt. But not only does the narcissistic parent lie about the child and their character, but most everyone else within the family will also lie about the child, or at least go along with everything. And so if there isn't anyone who corroborates the scapegoat's story or is in the scapegoat's corner, it does indeed look like that the scapegoat is the one who is lying and not the narcissistic parent. Because even if the scapegoat is telling the truth, which they are, people tend to have a herd mentality, or a majority is right mentality. And so again, if nobody's in the scapegoat's corner, it again looks like the scapegoat is the one who is the liar. Another reason why no one believes the scapegoat is because the narcissistic parent is usually already somebody who was respected already, or in a position of respect already. Meaning, before the child came along, the narcissistic parent usually had a core group of friends, or again, was known within the community of people. And so because of that, they feel like they already know the narcissistic parent, and they might have known them for years. And because they have known them for years already, they do in fact feel that they know the narcissistic parent. And they know them to be a so-called normal person, meaning they know them not to be a narcissist / abuser. Because they feel if they were that, in fact, like they really were a narcissist and all that stuff, they feel that they would have known that already, like before the child came along. And people like to believe that they have good discernment. And so someone they deem to be a friend or a respected person within the community, they feel they can't be wrong, or they don't want to be wrong. But just a little side note, and something that I want to add, what do most people say when they find out someone did something horrible. They always say, oh my God, I had no idea that John Doe or Jane Doe did X, Y, and Z. They were always so kind and friendly. We had no idea that they were capable of doing such a horrible thing. That is usually the response. The response is usually shock. No one ever says, oh my God, I knew it. They were so strange and weird. Because in truth, the people that most deem strange and weird are usually the people that are up to nothing, meaning they're not trying to cause any trouble. They're just trying to mind their own damn business. But those are the people that everyone is always suspicious of, even though, again, they usually, never are up to anything. But no one suspects the person who is so kind and friendly to have done something horrible. So just saying, just thought I'd put that out there. But anyway, because most people feel that they already know the narcissistic parent already, and they don't really know the child because the child came after the parent, and so they feel whatever the parent must be saying about the child must be true. But this can be said for anyone who's in a position of power or seen in a position of respect. Like, take celebrities, for example. Because people feel they know them because they're in the public eye, people feel they must be good. Like, they wouldn't be successful if they were bad. And so when someone comes forward and says something, horrific or something bad happened to them by this person, they feel that the person who is coming forward must be the liar, because the person who is respected or, again, in a position of power, again, they feel that they wouldn't be in that position if they were that horrible or if they were bad. And just a small example, say it's like a celebrity who's a man and a woman comes forward and accuses him of rape or tells her story that she was raped by this man, and they will say that the woman is out for his money. And so because he's in a position of power and because he has money, that must be what she is after. And I'm not saying that's never the case, but in most cases it's not. But you get my point, is that they will try to make it seem like the person coming forward has motive to lie on them because they're after something. Well, the same dynamics play out on a smaller scale within families. And so if a child is coming forward and saying what is going on with them, with the narcissistic parent, or what's happening within the family, people will accuse that child of having motive. And one of the biggest motives that they feel that a child would have is that they want attention. Or, they're just taking advantage of the parent and want something from them. What? I'm not really sure. But again, they will see the child as the one with motive. They rarely, if ever, will see that the parent would have motive. And depending on the extent of lies that the narcissistic parent says about the child is the extent of how much the child will be discredited. You see, a person who is a narcissist, and in this case a narcissistic parent, knows deep down what they are doing, and they know that it's not right, at least within the public eye, or they know within the society that they know they're doing something not right, which is why they hide it, and which is also why they tell lies on the child or whoever it is that they are targeting. They know that they need a smokescreen, or they know that they need a cover story. And because they are so good at crafting the cover and the cover story, most people are only looking at the cover. They are not looking further than that, meaning they're not looking beneath the surface. They're only looking at, again, the appearances. And these covers, like I said, are well crafted. And just an example of that and what I mean is that people who are doing nefarious things always need a cover so no one looks beyond the surface. Like in my video where I talked about the missing children on milk cartons, it was in my video where I talked about scapegoated children on a global level, where the children on missing milk cartons weren't really missing. I mean, they were to the family and all that, but they put them on milk cartons as a form of advertisement, so those in the know would know that this child is for sale, and they could then sell them to the highest bidder. But the cover was that it made it look like that the system that we live in cares about the child. And, again, it's like, oh, look, we're doing something about the missing children. That was a cover. And that cover makes them look like they are the good guy. The same thing goes for those who hide behind religion and say a priest, for example, and they use their position to molest children. And they get away with it for so damn long because no one suspects that a man of God would molest a child, or somebody who is so godly would be doing something so horrific. And so when children come forward and they say, my pastor or my priest was molesting me, no one really wants to believe them or can believe them because, again, that cover is there. And in this case, their cover is their religion. So unfortunately, they tend to look at the person coming forward as the one in the wrong and the one they're accusing as being, again, the good guy. But I have to say, this is why narcissists get covers in the first place. Or sometimes people who work with children or become camp counselors, they choose these jobs specifically so they can have access to children. Now, I'm not saying everybody who is in professions like these are doing something wrong, but I'm saying the ones who are doing something wrong, they purposely choose these positions intentionally so they can have access to children. Or like some people are attracted to being, say, a police officer because it gives them a position of power, but they want that power so they can abuse it. And so these positions give them a cover, a smokescreen to get away with things without consequences. And I haven't gone into depth about child trafficking, but there are those who pretend to be advocates or they pretend that they're fighting for child trafficking, when in real, those exact people are the biggest traffickers out there. And so nobody's going to look at the person who's so-called saving the children as their mantra as being somebody who's actually trafficking children. So let's say I'm somebody who is out there and I say, oh, I go undercover and I'm saving the children, and we just did a big bust the other day and we saved like 70 kids. And so if somebody sees me and I have like a truck full of kids, no one's going to look at me as the traffickers. No one's going to look at me as that. They're going to look at me and be like, oh, you just saved the children. And that's the story I'm going to tell too. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I have a truck full of kids because I just saved them all. And so that is what I mean, how deep this cover can go. With people who are doing nefarious things, again, they know they need to have a cover. And I'm not saying, again, that everybody who is, quote unquote, for saving the children or people who go into positions like a teacher or a camp counselor are all bad people by any means. No, there are good people. But what I'm saying is that the ones who are doing bad things are attracted to these positions because it gives them an alibi, or it gives them a smokescreen, and it gives them a cover so no one looks at them. But anyway, I don't want to go too off topic. I just wanted to make a point about that narcissistic parents are no different in terms of giving themselves a cover. And narcissistic parents always paints themselves as the good guy or puts themselves in a position to be seen as the good guy. And usually narcissistic parents always boast about how much they are doing for their children, especially the one who's being scapegoated. Like they always say how much they sacrificed for them, or how much money they spent on them, for those narcissistic parents who use money to manipulate. And they may indeed be spending a lot of money on their children in a materialistic way. But that doesn't mean that they're not harming their children at the same time. But the money that is being used on materialistic gifts, for example, is usually a form of manipulation and control. For example, let's take a father and daughter, and let's say the father is molesting the daughter. And so he will use money and materialistic things to manipulate the situation. Meaning, like every time he molests her, he might buy her something nice. But nobody knows about the molestation going on. All they see is the gifts that he's buying her. And so it looks like he's a very generous father, or that he's very giving to the daughter. And so, again, that's a form of control and also a form of cover. But he's positioning himself as to be seen as the generous father. And not only is he trying to be seen as a generous father, he could be buying her those gifts to bribe her to keep her mouth shut. Meaning, as long as she keeps her mouth shut, she may be able to get whatever she wants materialistically. But again, that doesn't mean he's not doing what he's doing, which is harming her. And not only do narcissistic parents like to show themselves as being so-called generous, again, if they have the money, they're gonna use it. But again, they will, talk about how much they sacrifice, but they always position themselves and try to set themselves up as being the hero. But another reason why most people do not believe the scapegoat, because in some cases, some children, because of what's being done to them or what's happening behind closed doors, they start to act out. So because of their acting out, this may, play out like they miss school or their grades go down. They start lashing out at people. And so they start acting in a dysfunctional way. And this acting out actually, unfortunately, acts as proof to what the narcissistic parent is saying about them. And so the acting out acts as proof, so to speak. And so people will start to say, oh, so-and-so's parent was right about this child. Or they'll say, oh my God, I feel so bad for so-and-so's parent for having such a dysfunctional child. And in truth, this is exactly what the narcissistic parent is banking on. They want to drive the child so crazy to a point where they do act out. And so they can then play the victim and act as though, again, they have such a troubled child that they have to deal with. So they are banking on the child acting out. All narcissistic people, whether a parent or not, is always seeking to get a reaction out of whoever it is that they are targeting. But then there are situations or cases where a child is able to, quote unquote, hold it together and act functional. Even if that is the case, people are still going to look at them as if they're up to no good and that they're a troublemaker because of how the narcissistic parent has talked about them. But what happens in the cases where there's really no evidence of the child acting out or doing anything bad? In that case, the narcissistic parent is most likely telling a story of them being a victim behind closed doors and that it's only them that you treat badly. Meaning that the scapegoated child, they will paint them as they're the ones being mistreated behind closed doors and nobody knows about it. And so people start to see the scapegoat as the one having something to hide. Like I said, even if there's no evidence on the outside, the narcissistic parent will position themselves as the victim and the one who has this secret of their troubled child who, he treats them horribly. In a way, they basically set the child up as if they are the ones being abused behind closed doors by the scapegoat. And so people will still look at the scapegoated child as the issue, and they will look at them through the eyes of, like, I know the truth about you and I'm not going to be fooled by you because I know what you're really like behind closed doors. Like, that's how people start to look at the scapegoated child, as they are the ones having something to hide and they know the truth about them because the parent told them. So in both cases, the parent wins because in the case where the child is acting out, that is proof of them being a dysfunctional child and a troubled child. And in the case where they're not showing any evidence or acting out because they're able to hold it together, the story is that that is something they're doing behind closed doors. Like, they might be acting fine to everybody else, but they're just mistreating their parent behind closed doors. And this is a secret that they carry all by themselves. So it's a win-win for the narcissist either way, regardless of how the child acts or doesn't act. And so this is incredibly painful for the scapegoat, especially if you're a scapegoated child, as you can imagine, because it is painful to have no one believe you. But what is even more painful is because people believe the narcissistic parents' stories, they tend to give their support and their care and their love and all of those things to the narcissistic parent. So the child is not only being disbelieved, but they have to see that the person harming them is the one getting all the support. And so that's what it feels like to be a scapegoated child, because again, everything feels so ass backwards and upside down because they know the truth about what's going on. And what's even funnier or ironic is that narcissistic parent does too, but again, they have all these stories and all these covers and all these smoke screens going on, and unfortunately the scapegoat is in the middle of all of that, or being used for in the middle of all of that. So for the scapegoat, it feels like they're in the damn twilight zone, because they are. To the scapegoat, it seems so damn obvious what is happening and what is really going on. And so when people don't believe them, that is also why it's painful, and again, why they feel like they're in the damn twilight zone. Another reason why people don't believe the scapegoat is because people tend to lack emotional intelligence, and they tend to lack empathy, and they tend to lack understanding of narcissistic dynamics, especially ones that go on within families. A lot of people are unable to recognize and address dynamics that go on with scapegoats. And a lot of people are unable to or unwilling to see beyond the surface of things. And they're unwilling and unable to see the impact and psychological impact that it has on scapegoats. Plus, when a child speaks up about what is going on with them within a family, a child usually goes to an adult because, that's logical. A child would think, oh, an adult can help me, or another adult can help me. But most adults are parents themselves, and so if the child has already been dismissed and discredited, or again, they talk to the parent and the parent somehow is able to talk their way around things or make the child seem crazy or like they're making up stories and lies. Because the adult is also a parent themselves, they are more likely to believe another parent or just another adult in general. They tend to side with the narcissistic parent because they are seeing it through the lens of themselves, because again, they are an adult or they're also a parent. So they're seeing it through their own eyes. Plus, as a culture or as a collective, we do not respect children as a whole, and for whatever reason, we tend to look at children as being troublemakers or manipulators as a whole. And for whatever reason within the collective belief is that children are just innately bad or evil, and that they have to be taught to be good. And so if a child can't be taught to be good, then the default is they must be bad and evil. So if a parent can't make a child good, then again, as I mentioned, the default is that they must just be bad. They're a child after all. And again, I'm not quite sure why that belief is there, but other than the fact that people are just ignorant, to say the least. And some people have a belief system that only bad things happen to bad people. And so even if they believe you, like let's say they do maybe believe that something bad is happening to you, they might not care because they might believe that it's happening to you because you are bad. Because again, people are ignorant and they have ignorant beliefs. And another reason why no one believes the scapegoat is because, as I've mentioned in narcissistic family dynamics, there's usually always a golden child. And so that golden child is used, again, as a cover to prop up the narcissistic parent. And so they are there to show that the parent is actually indeed a good parent. So no one believes the scapegoat because there would be no golden child in their mind. And the golden child, again, as I've mentioned, they are there to show that the parent is innocent because the golden child is so great and wonderful and gets along with the family, so to speak. And so they are again used as a smokescreen and a cover. Plus, the golden child will in fact vouch for the narcissistic parent, because that is the trade-off. The golden child gets to be praised and gets privileges and all those things to go along with the narcissistic parent. So as I've mentioned, if nobody's in the scapegoat's corner, it looks like the scapegoat is indeed the liar. And if there is no proof of what the scapegoat is saying, of course, no one is going to believe the scapegoat. And again, going back to appearances, if everything looks quote unquote picture perfect on the outside, but then you just have this one child who says otherwise, again, most people are not looking beyond appearances. Most people are not looking beyond the surface. Most people don't care to look deeper into things. And I've often said that the more picture perfect something looks on the outside, the more dysfunction is probably going on behind closed doors. But too many people buy into the presentation or the appearances of things. And that goes into people's belief systems. So if somebody's in a position of, again, authority, power, high position in society or whatnot, and again, a parent is seen as someone in authority. And so people have these belief systems that they're automatically good and have good intentions. And the same thing with, say, if a parent adopts a child, like myself, I was adopted. And so people have a belief system that a parent wouldn't adopt a child and quote unquote harm them, because in their mind, why would they adopt them? But people need to understand that people can and do adopt children for purposes of abuse or molestation or whatever it is that they want with that child. Now, I'm not saying in my case that was the intention. I think the intention was that my parents just wanted to be parents and my mom just wanted to be a mother. But she has issues clearly, and it just sort of happened. But people need to understand that just because you adopt a child or you take a certain action in something, that automatically exempts you from being in a position to harm somebody. But my point is that oftentimes people's belief systems get in the way of them really being able to see the truth. But anyway, to wrap up today's video, a lot of people don't believe scapegoats for many different reasons, but mainly because people lack knowledge of these type of dynamics. And oftentimes people are too wrapped up in their own issues and their own life to really understand someone else's situation. And a lot of people do not look beyond the surface. So again, people are easily bought with appearances and they're easily bought by presentations. But that doesn't make it any less hard or painful for the scapegoat, because of course it is. It's painful not to be believed, and it's just another challenge in another hole that a scapegoat has to dig themselves out of besides the situation at large. So yes, it really is a situation and a battle that scapegoats really have to fight on their own, and they really do have to stand on their own 2 feet. But it is always a struggle for a scapegoat to be believed, and it's always seems to be a battle that they have to fight on their own for real, because again, they're usually not believed. But on that note, I'm actually going to end today's video, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!